So let's review the coding challenge. Only intermediate because you proved to be absolutely fabulous with beginner. Right, so first of all, I can see there is a small issue in the UI. That scroll shouldn't be there anymore, right? That was fixed, so that was what we call a regression issue. So we changed something unrelated to UI training, and as a side effect, now we have an ugly scrolling, which is not a big issue generally speaking. But for instance, on question number 5, it was a problem, right? Because in question number 5, we had to check what happened at the bottom of the screen. Anyway, that will be hopefully fixed at some point in the near future. Question number 1, we have a basic layout with 2 columns, yeah, of the same size and everything. And I'm tempted to use grid. Also, welcome to grid helps me to take a decision, right? So I'm going to use grid to build that system. That question was pretty simple. I saw that you fix it, you solve it very quickly, but let's work a bit on that. So first of all, let's create the parent. How do you like, not class name, right? Class. So what's the name of the class on the parent, guys? Item, wrong? Wrapper or container, something like that, right? And then the class what? Box, item, element. Yeah? Again, this is not rocket science, whatever. As far as you don't call it Boris Johnson, we'll be fine. And now we need to add some text on it. So grid can be very tricky. How do you copy? I'm sure you all copy that and paste it and all these things, right? Do you select it and then copy and then paste? Yes. Yeah? Yeah, correct. So first of all, you don't even have to select the entire line. If you put the cursor on it, you copy and then you paste. Yeah? And also, as Seb is suggesting, is you're a Mac user, you can press Ctrl-Shift down. Look at how sexy this is. Oh. No. On Mac is Option-Shift down. On Windows is something shift down. I don't know if it's control or alt. Okay, alt shift down. Or any of these, right? Control shift down. Okay. Grid can be very tricky. Talking about shortcuts, you know, you can rename all the classes very easily, right? I think on Windows is Control D, on Mac is Command D. Look, I can select them all and I can call it Friday, which is wrong, right? But that's pretty nice shortcut. Okay, so that's our HTML. I'm pretty confident that's all we need from a markup point of view. But now let's focus on the CSS. So first of all, dot container, right? So about the container, display what? Grid. Fantastic. So that's a grid. Before going into details, let me work on the item because that's relatively easier. What do we know about the item? We know a few things. First of all, black text, line background color, internal gutter of 20 pixels. What's the internal gutter? The padding. Yeah, the padding is the space, the space between the text and the limits of the box. Yeah. Color, black, background color, lime, and then padding. I think it was 20 pixels. All right, so let's talk about the grid. First of all, we know our layout has 2 columns. That's what we know. So there are a couple of ways we can do that. Using grid template columns, we can either do something like that, repeat 2, 1 fraction, something like that. Yeah, or whenever I do that, I prefer, to be honest, the screen is a bit bright today, right? So when we got that, I personally prefer to do that. I don't know. It feels a bit simpler to me. All right, we're not done yet, right? We need to add some margin in here. How do we add this space surrounding our boxes, guys? Gap, grid. The other way around. Grid gap. With a hyphen where? Here? No. after grid, like that? Yeah. Grid gap? And then what? So it is, the gap between them is to 10 pixels. Anything else, guys? Will this work or not? Semicolon, good point. And that's pretty much it, right? Let's have a look. Let's see if it works. It does work, yeah? Cool, awesome. Any questions? No?
What's the difference between where you put one if there, one or the other way?
Repeat. No, that's pretty much the same thing. It's a different syntax. It's a different syntax. That syntax is more powerful because I'll give you an example. What happens if you want to have 10 columns? I can do that, 1FR, 1FR, 1FR 10 times, or looks a bit simpler.
Now I understand.
Okay, cool, fantastic. So, yeah, that's question number one. Let me have a quick look to your proposals. Oh, interesting, Kelly. So, you see, the main differences are here. So, for instance, Kelly look after the rows, which is okay, but probably we don't even need that, right? So, in other words, if by removing one line of code, nothing changes, that means that that line of code is probably not necessary, right? Apart from that, yeah, you see Kelly is using the repeat strategy, which is absolutely fine, absolutely fine. For Katerina, yeah, again, repeat, all good. And for Esteban, you see Esteban is following my strategy. Same for Catherine. By the way, did Catherine get any warning here?
The space.
The space where, Catherine?
Before the last
So Catherine play on Friday mode, right? Adding random spaces, random empty lines, yeah? So let's try to tidy up. Do you press, when you evaluate an exercise, do you press the blue button or the green one?
the blue
The blue, yeah, that's the right one. Yeah, we need to improve the UX a bit because some users got a bit confused on that. Anyway, Jack talking about rows, which is good again, but yes, a bit unnecessary. Interesting. Bilal using labels. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there is no big difference between a div and a label. There are some technical differences. So a div by default is displayed in block mode. That means if you display a div, it will take all the available space on that row. However, label is displayed in inline mode by default. So label will only fit as much space as necessary. However, because we are using grid, all these fundamental rules of classic HTML and CSS don't apply anymore, right? So grid takes the control of the way the elements get displayed. So yeah, I mean, everyone has pretty much followed the same pattern, the same approach. Interestingly, didn't work for Ed. Can we spot where the problem is? Can anyone tell me? Subtle. Closing div. Yes, so Faraj is right. Look, I spotted that. Can you see that that div is displayed in a different color? So there is something wrong before. Look at the line above. Oh. Very subtle. Yeah, so close actually. And I believe, let's try that. I'm sure he spent, yeah, everything else looks okay, right? So I don't want to think he spent a lot of time on this because it will be a pity because that was really good. Let me just copy and paste it just to see if that was the only issue. Right. So I think, oh God, I'm making it more complicated. Yeah, so I think he got something like that. Yep, I fixed the problem with the closing div, and then we got the CSS. All right, so let's evaluate that. Yep, so that was the only issue, which is good, right? He was super close to solve the problem. Cool, so question, anything else, guys? No? Easy peasy, right? Question number 2. Question number 2. Oh. Nice, pretty similar actually. That's pretty similar. So we got 3 boxes. The good, the bad, and the ugly, which is the title of our talk with Trainline on the 9th of October, which you are obviously invited to join alongside other 150 developers. Really good networking. So we got 3 boxes, and then we need pretty much to display them. Looking at the description, it says important, there is a gutter between 2 and 3. We got some default styles, you see the container, height 30%, no problem at all. So first of all, as usual, let's do the HTML. So div, class name, can I call it wrapper now?
Class name?
Not class name, first of all, class. Can I call it wrapper?
No,
Yes, no, why?
because that is container.
Correct, I mean I can, but if I do that, I need to change it here as well, right? I hope you agree on that. So let's leave this as container, and then same with item, right? The exercise already suggests to use the word item, class item, the code, the good, not the code, the bad, and the ugly. All right, so we got the colors, we got the paddings, it's pretty much sorted. What's the problem, guys? What else is missing here? Display grid, good point. Display flex or grid?
Green.
Katerina is suggesting to use flex. All right, I mean,
Any, would be any, but flex is good because it's only one row.
the only problem I see about using flex is how to deal with that gap. Because you may have to add a special class for the first element and then add a margin right or margin left. Makes it longer, correct. So that's why even though grid tends to make things a bit more complicated, in some particular cases it simplifies your life a bit. Based on that, let's use grid and then we'll compare the approach with Katerina. So display grid, and then what else, guys? Grid, template, columns, what? Repeat, free, 1FR. All right, and then what else? Height is there already. What else, guys?
Grid gap.
Grid gap. Nice one, Catherine. Grid gap to what? Whatever. 10 pixels. Fair enough. Okay, let's try that. Let's try that, guys. Cool, that works, right? What's the alternative of using repeat? 1FR, 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 as Jack suggested, right? That should do the same. Here you go. Yeah, does it make sense? That was quite easy, right? All right, so let's see what you did. So Kelly, same thing. Katerina, oh, nice. Ooh. Interesting. Let me copy that because there are many things we can talk about. And this is one of the reasons why I really like to see different coding styles, right? That's the way you become a better developer, by getting used to coding styles that you don't usually follow because of whatever reason. So, first of all, let's run Katerina code as it is, just to make sure it works. Of course it will work, but let's just try it. Yeah, it works. And now let's focus on the code, display flex. And then, Katerina is saying, flex direction, row. That means that all the elements will be displayed on the same row. However, what happens if I remove that line, or I comment it? Let's have a look. I guess that will work. That's it. Why? Because that's the default. Flex direction is row by default, right? So we can get rid of it. Then justify content space around. What that means?
So there's space in, be space in between and also around.
Correct. Correct. Do you remember when you were 12 years old? I know for some of you it's a long time ago, for some of you it's 2 years ago. And your mom came to your bedroom and she said, tidy up your clothes, or your cigarettes, your porn magazines. Whatever, it's just an example, right? And then you, because you were very lazy, the only thing you did is you moved things to the corners, right? And it looked like everything was tidy up, but it wasn't, right? So that's a space around. You put the space in between of your, elements, personal belongings. So that's a space around. So Katerina is just trying to get some space. Do we need it? Maybe. I'm not convinced. What happens if we don't? I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. What happens if we don't have a space around? Because she's using flex 1, so that means that the items will span as much as possible. But then she says, that's the key. That's the important key. That's the important key. So look at what Katerina is doing, because that approach is very interesting. She's saying, item, but not every single item, just the second one. You see? So go to the second item, which is the one in the middle. And then what? Look. Can anyone tell me what that 0 means?
Is the margin on top?
Auto margin?
No,
On top?
and bottom.
Is top or top bottom? It's top bottom. That's the vertical axis. Yeah? If you pass only 2 values, the first one is the vertical axis, top bottom. Of course, you can pass 4, right? What happens if I do that? So what's that? Top, and the one? Right? No, not left. Right, and the one? Bottom and left. So that's clockwise. Yeah? But if we only pass 2, it's top, bottom, and then left, right. So in other words, Katerina is adding 10 pixels to the left and 10 pixels to the right. Yeah? So let's try again without justify content. Again, I'm not sure. You see, it still works. So that means we can simplify it even more. Yeah, so that's all good, Katerina. I mean, flex versus grid, both are valid. Again, I slightly prefer grid because then I don't have to deal with that structure. On the other way around, I think it's fair to say that flex works really well when we have one dimension. Look, we have 3 columns but 1 row, we have 1 dimension. Grid works better when we have multi-dimensions, multiple rows, multiple columns, and we need to mess around with a complex structure. Yeah? But again, in that case, I'm not extremely opinionated. However, I find very interesting to deal with this strategy. So well done, Katerina. Our friend Esteban is again going back to flex, right? That's interesting. That's interesting. And you see, look at what he did. That's the main difference. So Katerina automatically, you see, she didn't have to modify the HTML at all. Yeah? Because she found a way to interact with the second element dynamically. You see? However, Esteban, he declared a new class to the second element, and then he explicitly referred to it. Yeah? Which is also good, of course. Nice, good stuff. Yeah, I can see many people using flex. Again, Catherine, remember to have consistency on your spacing, right? So that's correct, but here it's missing. And then we got Jack using grid, which is all good. Bilal, again, using grid, nothing to mention. Yeah, so for Sonia, again, these 2 properties are unnecessary because flex direction is row by default, so yeah, and this is unnecessary because when we use flex 1, the elements will span as much as possible. Yeah, so yeah. And also remember, ideally, to have an empty line separating your selectors. So here the empty line is missing. Cool. What about Edward? So no weird markup issues for him today here. So all good for him. For Kieran, the same thing. Again, remember to get rid of these unnecessary properties. Same applies to Kibon and Farage using grid. Cool, all good guys, really good, very good. Nice one. Any questions? No? Okay, so let's do now question number 3. Animations. So what the idea here is to change the background color of your screen. That wouldn't be approved by Apple Store probably, because that will create some epilepsy to your customers. But anyway, it's okay for testing purposes, right? So we have a green background color. After half a second, we want to change the color to yellow, and after 1 second later, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, so 1 second later from the beginning, not from the previous step, I think we change the color to red. Yeah, so that's a flag system. This is very common when you participate on a kart race, or even when you want to cross the street, right? That's just a light, traffic light. Okay, so on the right hand side, we got the body. Yep.
In this one, in my computer, I couldn't see the text.
You couldn't see the text. Which text?
The one on the left.
You couldn't see the text on the left.
You have to zoom, you have to zoom.
Yeah, I had to zoom.
Really? Oh, so at normal resolution it didn't work? Are you sure?
Not for this,
Okay.
you have a higher resolution.
For me, it wasn't working, but I did the answer, but
Oh, you're right. Interesting. Good point. Yeah, you're right. Actually, you're super right. Actually, it's true. You cannot check the description. That's bullshit. Anyway, we'll address the problem. Cool. Remember, guys, we got a very sexy button that no one uses on top to share feedback. So whenever, because now you told me, I say, yeah, we'll fix it, and then I have a night, we'll have some drinks tonight, I'll forget tomorrow, right? So, however, if you drop a message here like, please, blah, 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 it will be on the system forever, yeah?
So the feedback is of that particular.
Just drop a message like, on question, whatever, I cannot see the description on the left, that's it. If I'm sure about what you mean, I'll come back to you and we'll have a chat, yeah? But at least there is a ticket in the system explaining there is a problem somewhere. Cool, so we got the body, there is no text, so I think the HTML is sorted, right? We don't have to do anything. Cool, on the CSS, let's do body, and then we know that the default background color is green, so let's just do it. Background color green. And I'll tell you something, I'm going to submit it right now. It won't work, I'm going to sacrifice some accuracy. But look, at least the first step is right. So yes, thank you. I can change the background color of my app. And now, we need to change the animation. Let's read the instructions. After 0.2 seconds, change it to yellow. After 0.8 seconds, change it to red. Okay, so this requires an animation, right? Because we need to set some sort of keyframes. So the first thing, let's set the name of the animation. Animation name. Let's call, I don't know, give me a good name. What? Lights. Life. Flies. Flies. Flags. Ah, sorry. Sorry, flags, yes. Thank you, Kiran. Yeah. So flags, eh? And then what else do we need to define? The duration. Animation duration is what? 1 second. 1s. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, that's a good point. You remember what we learned on Wednesday? Yeah, is that animations by default will roll back. We don't want to roll back. We don't want to display green anymore. Yeah, someone has died on the race, so we want to stop the race completely. Yeah, that was a bit extreme, but yeah, may happen. So animation, fill, mode, forwards, correct. Yep. And that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, we need to deal with that thingy. So how do we declare the steps of the animation? Keyframes, and then the animation name, flags, curly brackets, and then what? Let's do first of all 0. 0%. Background color, green. And then 20% yellow. And then 100% red. Interesting. Some people is not convinced about that.
80%.
We'll see. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that's a bit weird. Look, it's okay at the beginning, it's okay at the end, but not in the middle. What happened in the middle? We expect yellow, and we got a weird orange. Like, what the hell? We don't have any orange. What's the problem? After 0.02 of a second is yellow, but then we interpolate the animation, right? After 1 second is red. So from 200 milliseconds to 1 second, it changed the color, interpolates. That's why from yellow to red we got orange. You remember that when you mix the colors, yeah? So in other words, we want the yellow color to stay. So how do we make sure that after 0.8 of a second the color is still yellow? 80, nice one. 80 yellow. So that we make sure that from 0.2 to 0.8 is yellow, static, solid. Yeah, makes sense? So let's run it. Nice, it works. It works. By the way, have you seen that hint? Programming in real life versus programming in movies? No? Right. Programming in real life versus movies. That one. Let's play it again, right? So true, right? Have you watched Independence Day? So you know Independence Day from 1997, one of the first movies in history to have not only one but two websites. So they released first of all the original version, 2 hours is Will Smith, muscles, shooting, you know, Hollywood stuff. But you know when a movie is filmed, they discard some scenes, right? Because otherwise the movie may last for 4 hours. So it's interesting to see that a few years later, Independence Day, they released a Blu-ray version. And they incorporated one scene that was not part of the original footage. Yeah? And on that extended version, they show how they managed to connect with the UFO, with the alien. Yeah, you remember there was the alien, yeah, and they had like a protection layer. So when they shoot the alien, the protection layer, so it was impossible to attack the alien, but they found a way to disconnect that thingy. So then once that layer, transparent, invisible layer was disconnected, it was very easy to kill them all, right? So it's fun because they got the alien, it's like here, and there is a guy with a laptop, but it's an alien, so it's not using HTTP or SSH like your SSH keys on GitHub. It's using a protocol that comes from from the space, so we don't really know how to connect with something that is not using a computer, it's using something weird with neural thingy. So the guy with glasses starts like that thinking and say, oh, I think I got it. And everyone looks, type 2 lines of code, and then, oh, connection successful. Like, wait a minute. When I connect my front end and my back end, I've been doing that for more than 15 years, I always fail on the first attempt. I do that every single way. And that guy, he's never done that. He has no idea about the protocol, about the interface, and he succeeds on the first attempt. So how crazy that the scene was, that it was this. It was at the beginning. They thought, oh, that's too much. Let's just delete it from the original footage. All right. So that was Independence Day. Let's have a look to your answers here.
Why does it not
Yeah, yeah.
interpolate from 800 to from 80%?
It does interpolate. Yeah. So at 9/10 of a second, the color will be probably orange. It always interpolates. Always interpolates.
But you don't get to see.
But the thing is, no, we don't get to see because look at the screenshot. We take a screenshot at the beginning, 0, after half a second, and after 1 second. So we don't know what's going on in between. So do we need that, guys? Do we need 0?
No.
Not really, right? We explained that on Wednesday, remember? We don't need that at all. All right, so if we run it again, it should still work. Here we go. Let me have a look to your code. So, Kelly, it's pretty much the same thing. That's one for Katerina. Ooh, Katerina. Why 1.1?
Because when I put 1,
Didn't work? Hmm. You put 1 or 1s? It didn't work? It may happen. I mean, the thing is, I need to be honest, animations are a bit tricky to handle because the system is taking a screenshot, but even if you take a screenshot after 1 second, it could be 1.1, 1.2. That's why we cannot be very precise. So, yeah, you found a way to solve the problem. That's the important thing, Katerina. Esteban is essentially ignoring the rules, right? Because the rules were said at 80% exactly. It works for you, but that's controversial because at 0.8 of a second, in theory, your color has been changing for 1/10 of a second. So it wouldn't be like a pure yellow color. It would be, yes, probably still yellow, but probably darker yellow, right? So, all these things. Why it didn't work for Catherine? Yeah, so the problem with Catherine is after 0.2 of a second, the color is pretty, not green, not pure green, but it's closer to green than to yellow. Can you see that? Yeah, so after 0.2 of a second, we should have changed the color to yellow. And then we make sure that after at that time the color is yellow. Nothing else, nothing more. Look, for instance, what Jack did. You see, Jack says, hey, after 0.2 of a second, the color is yellow. Right, any elegance issue for Jack? No one? Yes. Keyframes, guys, these is just CSS, right? After yellow, after red. Semicolons. And then for Bilal, the same thing, right? Semicolons. What do you think about Sonia approach? No, apart from the elegance issues. So what's the color at 0.8 of a second? Is it yellow? Is it pure yellow? No. Look, at 0.8 of a second, the color is red. And then you may be thinking, why does it work? It works because, again, look at the instructions. We take 3 screenshots. One at the beginning, one after half a second, and then one after 1 second. So what you do in between is not captured. That's why it works, yeah?
Yeah, I had the same issue as Karina, the last bit, it wasn't showing red, so I thought if I put it red on earlier, that's why I tried that.
Okay, cool, fair enough. What else? Yeah, same for Seb, yeah? Same for Seb. And for Edward, any elegance issue for Edward, guys? Same. Semicolons and space. Correct, Bilal. Semicolons and space. Yeah? Anyone else? Kibon. Ooh. Right, so it works for Kibon. Just bear in mind Kibon, so that closing bracket should be on the left, then add an empty line, please, separating these two selectors, and then again, so that space shouldn't be necessary at all. You don't need that neither, right? Because by default the color is green, you already spotted. Then you are duplicating that, right? So cool. Nice. And for us, yeah, all good apart from the semicolons. Yeah, cool. So question number 4. I'm going to skip it because otherwise we may run out of time. So let me do question number 5 because this is where everyone struggled, right? So question number 5. You see, that's the problem. I need to scroll to see what's going on. So this is the classic notification that you got. You know, when you are doing something, you got like a message from the bottom or from the top, or it doesn't matter, right? So what are the rules? The rules are, we need to build that system, that box, and then after half a second, we need to change a couple of things. We need to increase the size of the box. So originally it's 30 pixels, so we have to duplicate the size, so it will be 60 pixel height. And also we need to change the font size, you see, to 36 pixels. You can see that this font size is larger. Does it make sense? Okay, so let's see how to do it. First of all, let's build the HTML. I'm going to create a div, class message or notification, whatever, yeah? And then success, and then let's close the div, yeah? So the HTML is pretty simple. You can see that, generally speaking, the complexity is on the CSS side. All right, so now talking about the message, let's start from the fundamentals, colors and stuff like that, right? So color, black text and green background. Let's do that. So background, color green, color black. And then let's start thinking about animation. So animation name. What? Double? Yeah, let's call it double. So then keyframes double. Before I forget, we need to set the height of the box. Height is 30, I think, yeah, 30 pixels, correct. So height 30 pixels. And then keyframes. The duration. What's the duration of the animation, guys? Yeah, 0.5 seconds. I think you can also use 500 milliseconds, I believe, right? Whatever. And then fill mode, right? Animation, fill mode, forwards. So double. What's the plan? 100%? Yeah, agree on that, Jack? Like what? Height. Oops. Height. 60 pixels. Yeah? Like that?
Yeah.
Semicolon, a space, yeah? Cool.
Font size?
And font size, yeah, correct. So let's move it to a new line for readability purposes. Font size, 36 pixels, I think, right? Anything else? Say it again? All right, let's try it. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. That won't work, of course. All right, let's see the differences. So we expect the message to be displayed at the bottom. What we return? Oh, the message is on top. How do we display that at the bottom? Second? Bottom 0. Okay, let's try that. Bottom 0. Will this work?
Just 0 or 0?
That's a good point. Is there any difference between 0%, 0 pixels, 0 REM, and 0 Brexit? No, 0 is 0. It's the only exception. When we talk about numbers, we always have to specify the unit unless it's 0. All right, so let's see if it works. that won't work neither. Still on top. Why? Because even though the idea is correct, that's necessary. We're missing an important aspect. Position. That's the key. That's the key. So by default, the elements are displayed one after the other. But there is a way in CSS, and this is very important, to make the elements float around the screen. You know, when you enter any website now, you get the cookies alert that pop up in the middle, on top of everything. That's position absolute. Yeah. So when you do position absolute, that element will float around the screen, and that makes it very easy to move it to the bottom. Bottom 0 is displayed at the very bottom.
Then you need a position relative.
No. We want that element to float, because if it's relative, if it's anything else, it's not that easy to move it to the bottom. Yeah. So absolute will make the trick. Will it work now or not? Yes, maybe. Yeah, it's either yes, maybe, or no, right? So you are not risking too much. That's a good point. That won't work. Still a couple of things missing. Let's see what happened. We're getting close, We're getting close. Look, it's not on top anymore, but, with, yeah? So when we deal with position absolute, HTML doesn't really know, it struggles a bit with the dimension, so we need to be a bit more explicit. So what's the width of our box? 100%. Fantastic. Will it work now? No, not yet. Close. Look, expected. Result. Div. You can see, have you seen the div? Yeah. So this is what we expect, this is what we return. How do we center the text, guys? Correct. Text align, center. Anything else? No?
Do you have to make the body position relative?
No, that's fine. Just leave the body as it is. Yeah. Cool. I'm 77% sure that will work. Let's have a look. Yes, it does work. Yeah. So now on mobile, first of all, displays at the bottom. After half a second, the message gets bigger. Does that make sense? All right. Let's have a look to your solutions, because I think no one managed to solve it, if I'm right. So that was question number 5. All right, so first of all, for Kelly. So it didn't work for Kelly, even though she did position absolute, bottom 0, text align center. Yeah, so that's controversial. So the animation is expected to take half a second. So what she did is, it will take 1 second instead, but in the middle, I will do the thing, right? So that may be actually the only issue.
What happened is that it was completely overlaid, like on a different slip, it was completely where it was meant to be.
Okay,
But I think we just
yeah,
set it on the wrong.
let's try it. Let's try that. So I'm copying your HTML and your CSS. So first of all, it will work like that, right? So it will work now. Oh, no, it doesn't even work. And that's the problem, because this is not exact. That's why if we deal with 50%, with 55, you see it's not perfect. So if there is a subtle delay, it won't. Maybe if I try 5 times, eventually it will work. I don't know, yeah? Anyway, let's try to do that. Let's change from 1 second to half a second, and then here obviously 100%, yeah? All right, let's try that. Yeah, it works. Yeah. Cool, nice. What about Katerina? Yeah, pretty much the same problem, right? Also, on top of that, so we remember, Katrina, we need to set position absolute and bottom 0.
Yeah, I didn't have time.
Yeah, that's all right. For Esteban, yeah, again, even though the iteration is correct, so that's all good. So look at, so he forgot to add position absolute, right? And on top of that, even by adding position absolute, look,
I was just trying to
Esteban is showing a very aggressive message, probably using all the screen, right? Cool, what else? For Jack. Yeah, same problem, right? The same problem. And for Bilal, the same problem. And finally, Faraj, the same thing, yeah? Cool, yeah, again, I know UI animations are a bit controversial. It's impossible to support them perfectly because, you know, technology is not ready today. By the way, if anyone is interested in the technology we're using, because there's something pretty unique, there is something called backstop.js. So with backstop, you can take screenshots. That's a good way of testing your application, right? To make sure that no one changes the background color of your web page of your web app, right? Backstop.js. So that could be a good bonus in your CV because companies are desperate to bring this sort of technologies, but they don't have the ability. Backstop. So if I were you, I would create a side project and I will play a bit, and I will, in a job interview, express how much you like that. Yeah, just saying. Cool. Do you want to do question 4, guys? Well, let me rephrase that. Did anyone struggle with question 4? Some of you? Do you want to do it? Okay, let's do it. So question number 4. Right. So here, it's pretty similar, right? It's about building a messaging system. The only difference is we want to fade the message in, and then in half a second, we want to fade it out again, yeah? In and out. But apart from that, it's relatively simpler compared to the other one. So first of all, the class message, success, yeah. And then on the message, first of all, colors, right? Color black, background color green. And then let's talk about animations. Animation name, notification, right? And what's the duration, guys? 1 second. And film mode, right? All right, so now, keyframes, notification. What are the rules? Let's read the instructions. The rules are, look, after 1/10 of a second, it's visible. It will remain visible until 90% of the time, so until the 9/10 of the second. And then from the 9/10 to the whole second, we'll fade it out. Yeah, that's pretty much the message. So, how do we hide it by default? Visibility. So what's the difference between visibility and opacity? Correct. Visibility is Boolean. It's either visible or not visible. Yeah? Visible or not visible. But that doesn't play well with animation, because when we play an animation, we want to have some fade effect, fade in, and then fade out, right? So we cannot use visibility. We need to use opacity, because thanks to opacity, it could be solid or it could be transparent, and in between it will fade. Yeah. So what's the default opacity? 0, correct. And now notification, 10%. What's the opacity on 10%? It's 1. Be careful. Opacity, yes, works from 0 to 1, which doesn't make sense to me. Why the width? Well, why the width works from 0 to 100? The opacity works from 0 to 1. Someone may think, oh, because the width can go beyond 100%. You can have width 200%, but opacity to 200% doesn't make sense. I don't know. I just find it a bit weird. Opacity. And then what? What's the next step? 90. What's the opacity? Yeah? You see the rule here, right? In these two lines, we say, hey, from 1/10 of a second to 9/10 of a second, do nothing. Just leave the message visible. And then on 100%, do what? 0. Roll it back. Yeah? Anything else? Okay, let's have a look. Elegance. What's wrong with the elegance, Kiran? At the end of opacity here?
You mean the gaps in between the brackets, is that what you're saying? Yeah, the map, because the brackets. The gaps is
No, it's only one, right? We always do that, actually. I mean, if you don't like that, of course you can do that, right? That's up to you. All right, so let's see if it works. That's it. Yeah. So that was quite easy. Let me have a look quickly to your approaches. Any thoughts about Kelly approach? Yeah, I'm surprised that code works, right? Because in theory, after 1 second, the message should disappear, but she's never changing the opacity back to 0. I don't know why that works, to be honest. Let's try it. I know.
Is it because after 0.9 seconds the opacity then starts to turn back to 0?
I don't know. Let me just test.
So the 0 opacity makes up for the 100% in the key.
Yeah, then the opacity between 0.1 and 0.1.
Okay, let's run it. That's been interesting, actually. Yeah, just copy and paste it. I cannot tell you why that shouldn't work under my point of view, because the message, we are never hiding the message, right? Animation film all forwards.
Originally, I did have 100%, but I thought, well, actually, take it away.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Okay, yeah, that's weird. I cannot tell you why. Anyway, what do you think about Kelly's emojis on the right hand side? You see, it's the happy face here, right? Remember to put the space like that. Cool. What else? With Katerina. Thoughts? Spelling mistake. What's a spelling mistake? Visible, right? So essentially, yeah, that's doing nothing. And yeah, this is a good example how there are many ways to solve it. In reality, because this is doing nothing, that will be ignored. And that implies that at the beginning it will be hidden. At the end it will be visible, and then you'll hit it, but it will be immediate. Invisible, visible, invisible, right? There will be no animation as such. We cannot test that, unfortunately, today, yeah? But that's the effect that you will be running. And then for Esteban, okay, thoughts? Yes, the fade-in is very exotic, yeah? Because we expect the message to be fully visible after the first 10th of the second, and that's not happening. The message won't be fully visible after 9/10 of a second. Do you agree, Esteban? So how will this look like? It will be slightly so fading the message, and then pop, it will hide it quickly, yeah? Because in 1/10 of a second, we reverse what we did over 9/10 of a second, yeah? Cool, same thing for Catherine, that's a team effort. And then again, Jack, same for Kelly, right? I cannot tell you.
It's possible. We know what you're going to do on Friday night.
I guess it's same Kelly, the last one.
Yeah, it's
Skip that one.
Say it again.
I think we skipped that one.
You didn't skip that one, Sonia.
No, but I think the time thing is before.
Did you submit it at all? No. Cool. For Kibon, yeah. Look, I like something about what Kibon did. Even though, again, Kibon is not performing any animation, I like that shorthand. So that's the combination of animation name and animation duration. Yeah. So it's shorthand. It's good. I like it. I like it. Yeah, again, you can see everyone has a different style, and which is good in one aspect, as far as the solution is correct. If it's not correct, sometimes unfortunately we're unable to capture the problem. But for instance, for Farage, it's perfect, apart from the emojis, right? Cool. Anything else, guys? No? Right, so we'll run on Tuesday a JavaScript challenge. And next time we do UI, we'll do only intermediate. Yeah, we may not run UI that often because you know how to deal with it. Just make sure you keep practicing. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.